Welcome back to the Brave Podcast. My name is Angelo, aka Exploring with Angelo. Normally I'm out there hunting ghosts, going to abandoned places, strange places, traveling the world, etc., etc. Here on this podcast, we do something a little bit different. And tonight we're going to get into a little bit about politics and some weird things that we've been seeing on the internet kind of related to them, hence why we're doing a totally separate episode. We actually just finished our episode with Charlie Noir and Jay, and unfortunately they had to go back to the studio, so they couldn't stick around. Otherwise, would have loved their input on it, but is what it is. So yeah, there's a couple of weird things. So number one, it was a video that surfaced on my Instagram. Somebody that I went to high school with, that I actually don't know that well. We were never really friends. He was like, older grade than I was. He posted something kind of weird, and in my opinion it was weird, and I am here with Moshi, and I kind of want to get his input on this as well, just because it's like where society is heading, in my opinion, is not a very good place. But yeah, here is my co-host Moshi.
Hey, I'm Moshi on YouTube and Instagram and everywhere in the world. Everybody in the world calls me Moshi. That's me. Hi. And welcome back to the Brave Podcast. Today on YouTube, we're doing this episode that I'm just like scared. I'm reading the topics.
The topics,
just like,
yeah. They're not that bad. Yeah.
There's a lot. Then you said I nearly died today.
Yes. Okay. So let's start with that. So I have a little bit of a story. So I obviously live in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. A fantastic city of about 650,000 people, give or take. Problem with Brampton is the driving. And I think this is just a well-known thing. So first of all, the other day I was actually doing a little bit of research, Google researching, just, inputting random searches just to kind of see what the results were looking like. And I searched up the worst drivers in North America. I didn't get a definitive answer. In my opinion, I would probably say Brampton is up there.
Keep hearing that.
Right? Yeah. I've traveled to a lot of different places. And honestly, like when I come back from my travels and I start hitting that 410, you notice the difference. Like the driving is just, it's crazy. What I did come up with as a result from those Google searches is I found out that Toronto, Ontario, Canada, is actually the number one for the worst traffic in the world, or at least North America.
That's so shocking.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't want to say it's shocking, like, because we live in it and we know it. However, I would have just assumed, and I had assumed up until this point, that like New York would have been number one, but I guess not.
Yeah,
Toronto beat it.
I mean, I've kind of been saying this for years. Like I said, I've been to a lot of different cities, a lot of different big cities, bigger than Toronto. And
Toronto.
Yeah, that's just the way we pronounce it. It's really weird. Why do we even say that? Toronto.
And you know what people say if you know when someone's not from Toronto? Because
they pronounce the second T.
Toronto.
Yeah.
It's like when bands come, we're doing a show. What up, Toronto?
Yeah. I honestly think the word is actually indigenous, because there was a sign that I found a little while ago out on my random adventures, and it spelled, instead of the second O, it spelled it with an A. So it was like Toronto.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. But anyways, back to my story. So what happened today, because I usually leave home early. I was coming down a road at a light, waiting to go make a left at the advance, right, which is the green arrow. Some people in the U.S. call it the green arrow instead of, for some reason we call it the advance. I don't know if other people call it around the world that too. Anyway, so I'm sitting there waiting to make my left, and the green arrow finally pops up. So I start going. All of a sudden, the car on the other side, which I assume was most likely going straight, or maybe was in the turning lane and supposed to turn, but for some reason they decided they were just going to go straight, which meant that they were going straight into me as I'm turning at this advanced light. And I noticed it at the very last second. Luckily, I slammed on the brakes, obviously hitting the horn, going, "What are you doing?" They just kept going. So that could have been bad had I not realized what was happening. The sad part about driving in Brampton is that you have to very much pay attention to your surroundings, because you have a lot of people making errors and mistakes, and can cost you your life.
Yeah, that's a part of driving in general. You gotta pay attention. However, in Brampton, you gotta be extra cautious. Super extra cautious.
Which is crazy, because I remember when I wrote I think it was the G license. You probably remember this story, but I went and they failed me because I was too cautious.
Oh yeah.
The guy who actually was doing the exam in the car with me, what did he say? He yelled at me because I was waiting to make a left, and there was a truck coming, and he was going, "Why are you waiting? What are you waiting for?" I'm like, "Dude, do you not see the 100-ton truck coming right in our direction? Like, if I turn and he T-bones us, guess which side he hits first? Yours, right?" And I'm just like, dude, what is this guy's problem? But yeah, I could never understand that, because it's just like such a normal thing. Like, if you're from Brampton or from the surrounding area, right? And it's just very unfortunate, but there's got to be a better way to enforce it. Hopefully somebody will come up with, a better way to kind of either make the licensing process maybe more difficult. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just don't have the answer for you. But anyways, apart from that, complete segue. Back to this random video from this person that I knew from high school. So a little bit of context. I think he kind of explained it himself in his video, but apparently he had an interaction with a police officer. So I'm going to play the video, and then we'll kind of like go through it.
Yeah.
Long story short, you're about to see a really fun interaction with the police that I just had. So this cop car at the intersection,
I gotta switch the screen here,
obviously ran a red light and was totaled. And I mean, everyone was fine, but I think it's absolutely hilarious when cops do stupid things and break the law and end up embarrassed because of it. And as I was turning through, I could not help but laugh. And as I was laughing, this one police officer clearly took offense to the fact that I was laughing and started yelling something. I don't know.
Key point there.
As I was driving,
something.
I gave him the finger. You can yell at me all you want. I have the perfect opportunity to give you that. And there's nothing wrong with it. According to the Court of Canada, it's a God-given right. What you're about to see is the interaction that ensued of him trying to give me a ticket for giving him the middle finger. Enjoy.
Okay, so that's part one.
Okay.
Now I see a few problems with what he said and how he said it.
Okay.
He said he was turning and laughing, which is whatever, I guess. First of all, it's pretty obvious that you don't like the police. I think that's probably a given based on his demeanor, his gleeful smile that you can see in this video. That's fine, whatever. You're entitled to your opinion, and you don't like cops. That's your opinion until you obviously need them. But that's a whole other situation. Second thing is that he said he was turning and he realized that the officer did not appreciate, I guess, him smiling, laughing, whatever the hell he was doing, and started yelling something.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So he's not, I'm just trying to put this all into context for us and the viewers, just to kind of formulate exactly what happened here. Yelling something means that you're unsure of what the officer was yelling about.
Right.
So he made, I feel like there's missing context to the situation here, and I think that it is possible maybe he was going too slow, doing that whole rubbernecking thing, clogging up the intersection as he's making this turn. Yeah. He's laughing, and maybe the officer's yelling out louder to tell him to continue on. I don't know. I don't know what the officer actually said, and apparently neither does he, which is kind of my point. At this point in time, he decides he's going to give the officer the middle finger, which is, for one, in my opinion, rude and disrespectful. Yeah. If the guy never did anything to you, why are you flipping him the
finger for something he has no idea why, what he's saying.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of my point, right? Now let's move on to the second video here. Let me just pull it up.
So,
all right.
And our friend is coming back. This should be fun. There we go.
You want to open the window a little bit more so I can give it easier to you? I don't need to get hurt by you trying to drive away with the window up, right? There's your driver's license. And again, I'm cautioning you of the way you were driving over there at the intersection. That's for the hand signal that you gave me. It was a beautiful finger. can't do that. That's illegal. Okay? You got 3 options. You can pay it, you can ask for a meeting with the Crown, or you can come to court. But next time you decide to show the middle finger to the police when you were told to move along, you're going to face the consequences. Do you have any questions in regards to that?
My
name is on the badge. It's Wiggerman. Wiggermann. Badge number 9332. And I'm totally aware of your history and everything else, sir. Okay?
Okay.
So, the reason why you have 3 pieces of paper, because we do everything over Zoom. The 3rd page explains to you if you want to fight it in court. Okay? Any questions in regards to the ticket? Do you understand what you did wrong? By the way, when you were going...
And our friend is coming back.
And then it cuts off. This second part is just a repeat of the first part.
This is so funny. Improper arm signal. Improper arm signal. Let's look at that here. Improper arm signal. That's so fun.
Okay, so number one, it's pretty obvious he does, like I said, he does not like the police. That's fine.
Yeah.
He continually laughs. He has the window closed, and I do think that, so technically I don't think you have to roll your window down any further than that, but he does kind of make a point. And one thing to also note, that at some point, I don't know if it was in that video clip or we might have missed something here, but I remember seeing a part in the video where the officer says, we know kind of like what you're all about, your history. Yeah, I think he says something along those lines. So clearly this guy has issues with, police to begin with. Yeah. That's a well-known thing. Whether that's a political known thing or maybe, I don't know the history to that. Also, to point out that at the end of the video, he randomly cut it off. So there was obviously more of an explanation from the police officer and probably a further interaction. I don't know what happened after that, and I'm not going to just assume as to what could have happened after that. The other thing to note is that, yes, technically, he is correct to say that it is your God-given right here in Canada, as it would be in the United States, I assume, to flip the bird to a police officer. However, the Ontario Traffic Act might say something differently because it's an improper hand signal or whatever he described it as. Yeah, I think he described it as a hand signal. Now, it's pretty obvious that the police officer started picking on him and just kind of potentially found a reason to give him this ticket as an improper arm signal or whatever it might be. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a police officer. I don't know what the actual Traffic Act says. I didn't have time today to kind of go through it. We're just kind of like roughly going through it, but
I just Googled it. I said Canada improper arm signal. Yeah. And there's multiple from 2009, multiple cases of people getting charged for improper arm signal, which is literally flipping the bird to an officer.
Really? So it's an actual thing.
Yeah, this guy's not the first one. Yeah, it's a real thing I guess.
Because you're doing it from a motor vehicle, which could be instructing other motor vehicles to think like, what's this guy doing? Because there is technically a certain, so I remember learning in driving school that like if you're, and I don't think most people would even remember what they specifically are, but if your signals are not working for one reason or another, you're supposed to like point in a certain direction like a cyclist does. Okay, yeah. Right? When a cyclist turns, you're using actual hand signals. So technically the law maybe, and the officer has a point that if you're, doing your improper hand signal, which is essentially flipping the bird, you're in violation of a traffic violation, and you're still laughing about it. And then now you're expecting to go to court. I mean, I'm sure they could probably fight it, and a judge might just throw it out at the end of the day, depending on maybe where they are politically, because it's pretty obvious at this point in time that a lot of judges will pick one political side over the other, regardless of the fact that they're supposed to be neutral, which is very sad and unfortunate. But I don't know. I just think the whole thing is ridiculous, and I think where we're at in society, this whole notion, because he also wrote in his thing here, hang on, let me just open this. And so he wrote, I try not to believe that #ACAB, but this gift to humanity today really gave me a good laugh. And that's pretty obvious based on the fact that he was laughing in his face, right?
ACAB stands for
all cops are bastards.
All cops are bastards. I've never heard that before.
Really?
Nope.
It's become a very popular sentiment. After the BLM days of, what was it called? The Summer of Love, we'll call it. If you remember the fiery summer of love, right? Because of the whole situation with George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't like this sentiment where it's like everything is just obviously a joke, because at this point it's like no, like not all cops are obviously, angels and saints at the end of the day. There's a lot of them that are corrupt and going around and doing god awful stuff, but at the end of the day, it's like, isn't that in every industry at this point? You're going to find corrupt politicians, you'll find corrupt religious leaders, you'll find, just about anywhere, right? People corrupt in retail, for God's sakes. They'll say the cheesiest things or the completely wrong things just to sell you on something, just to get a couple extra quota points or whatever it is. But I don't know. I don't like the sentiment or where it is that society's heading. I do believe in common courtesy and, at least try to be nice to people, be respectful, especially like the dude probably like realistically didn't do anything. It doesn't sound like he knows what the police officer said in the initial encounter, right? So it's like, why are you automatically flipping the bird? Yeah. Just because you hear, and you have no idea what the guy even said, right? Yeah. It's like, screw you. I don't like your tone of voice, right?
This driver was prejudiced against this cop.
I guess. I don't know.
Because he's a cop.
Exactly. Yeah. He just automatically made an assumption because he's a police officer that, this guy's a dick. Yeah, right?
Exactly.
And it's like, realistically, the cop could have just let it go, right? If he's doing it obviously at this point because he wants to teach him a lesson. Yeah. But if it were me as the police, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the actual traffic act. You're saying that it comes up as an improper arm.
Multiple people have posted online that they got charged for illegal arm signal or whatever the word was.
Right. Yeah. I'd like to know if I would want to actually find it in the actual traffic act to make sure it's written in there as that gesture from a vehicle. And that's the only reason why it's a problem. It's not a constitutional thing because you're operating a motor vehicle doing it. That's the reason why it's a problem. And clearly he doesn't understand that. But these people, these woke lefties, want to pretend like they understand the Constitution when it applies to them and not anybody else. And that's my problem. I find that very, very consistently where they don't understand what's actually happening. And it's like, dude, do better. Come on. Why are you being an asshole?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. What else do we have? Right now, this kind of relates to Canada. And it's so fascinating to see because this is from the Toronto Star. Toronto Star is a notoriously left-wing biased news organization. It says Justin Trudeau and his Liberals hit new lows in support, poll suggests. Why I find that so fascinating is because it's from the left-wing news now that's actually telling us that Trudeau is losing, yet he will not give up power. Why won't he give up power? Clearly, people do not want you around anymore. Well, they're ready for change, whatever that change might be, whether it's Pierre Poilievre or Jagmeet Singh or whatever, right? Whoever people decide, obviously, I mean, based on polls, it's going to probably be Pierre, right? At the end of the day.
Is he leading? Yeah.
Well, he's the leader of the Conservatives, and he's doing really, really well in the polls. So we'll read a little bit further. This is a little bit older now. I just had it bookmarked a while ago. It's from January 10. So not much has changed, though, I can tell you that much. So it says, at the dawn of the new year, that you can see the federal Conservatives continue to outpace the slumping Liberals. Fresh polling suggests Justin Trudeau and his government are entering 2024 with some of its worst ever levels of support. The newest numbers from Abacus data, shared exclusively with the Stars, show that Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives reversed their 5 percentage point drop in the polls from December by gaining 4 points during the research firm's latest round of polling. But the findings offer the grimmest outlook yet for the Trudeau Liberals since they ascended to power, with a survey showing that 58% of Canadians disapprove of the current federal government. Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here, but it kind of is what it is. But it's funny to see because Lately, I don't know if you've been noticing this. I don't know if you spend a lot of time on I was going to say Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X. But I do scroll through as often as I can. And one of my key interests on X is politics, right? I follow a lot of people who are either journalists, they're involved in independent media somehow. Maybe they're, YouTube political commentators, whatever it might be. So I get suggested a lot of political stuff. One thing that I've been noticing, though, from X, and I understand that X is trying to be as politically neutral as possible, which is fine. And they've been recommending a lot of these particular tweets. I think they're still called tweets, right?
I think so.
I don't know. But anyway, so what I've been noticing is that they keep recommending these particular tweets that are so heavily in favor of the Liberal Party of Canada that it's like they can literally do no wrong. There's like one in particular, I'd have to find I probably have one of them bookmarked, but it's kind of just like the way they go about describing voters or supporters, I guess, if you want to call them that, of the Conservative Party of Canada as quote unquote hillbillies, rednecks.
Oh, wow.
Their only way to argue or debate is telling the other people to go F themselves or fuck off or you're fucking stupid or you're an idiot. And it's like, dude, that's not a debate. That's not how you debate, right? If I think you're wrong, I'm not going to tell you F you and then just walk away. I'm going to have an intellectual conversation.
Or try to.
Or at least try to, right? Sometimes it doesn't work out depending on who you're dealing with. But yeah, I'm finding that a lot. It's not just like one particular account, but it tends to be like if I'm scrolling through, I'll see like 3 or 4 of them all back to back. And they're just constantly ragging on conservatives. And the other thing to point out is that they more often than not will start to suggest that the Liberals are not actually losing and that they're actually winning. Who's one that says this quite? Dean Blundell. You know who Dean Blundell is? He's a radio station host. And he is notoriously liberally biased, right? Through and through. They can do absolutely no wrong. Right? I consider myself politically more moderate, somewhat neutral. I guess I would vote for, at this point, the Conservative Party. I will, however, point out when they do things incorrectly or do the wrong thing. I've seen them do many things like that. I've seen the Conservative Party kick reporters out. I think it was Karima Saad. She's a independent reporter who often goes down to protests. And I think she went to some speaking event that Pierre was supposed to be speaking at. And for some reason, they were like kicking her out. They ended up letting her back in after, some communication, whatever it was. I don't know the full story, but stuff like that, as I'm doing right now, I will point out. I don't like stuff like that. Yeah. Right? If you're going to say you're for free speech, then fucking prove it. Right? So yeah, I don't know what's wrong with these people though. Like people like Dean Blundell, like their whole rhetoric is not to sit here and have intellectual conversation, but to sit there in the comfort of their own home without having any rebuttals whatsoever. And often they will turn off replies unless they follow you, right? That's the other funny part. And they'll just say one thing and they'll just constantly just talk bad about voters, right? Calling conservatives hillbillies, which is really funny. Because here in Canada, we are very multiculturally diverse, right? So for you on the internet to be calling a Sikh man, for example, or a Muslim man, for example, a hillbilly or a redneck is just laughably stupid. And it just proves my point that you're making yourself look like an idiot by saying those things. You're not having real intellectual conversation, right? And it's like, dude, like there's ever heard of something called a swing voter before, right? And that's what's happening. Obviously, people are swinging, and it's just incredible at this point that we have a left-wing organization like the Toronto Star who is now writing about how badly Trudeau is losing right now, but we're still stuck here waiting till 2025. I don't know. Do you think we're going to have an early election? You think that's? I mean, I think it's a possibility, but I don't think they're going to give up power.
Well, why would he?
Right.
He's making money on it.
Either of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Sorry, what do you mean either of them? Who's the other?
Jugmeat as well, like NDP party.
Got it.
Right.
Got
so
it.
NDP, the way that I'm looking at it is NDP, if they were to go to an election, would also lose a lot of seats, maybe even half.
Okay.
Right.
So you think the longer time they have, they can repair their look?
I
in
think
the
that's
eyes
the
of people?
hope.
Yeah.
So what I think they're banking on, because the problem is that a lot of the issue right now is economics, right? Things are obviously very, very expensive, especially here in Canada. Everything's ridiculously expensive, especially rent. Rent, groceries are probably the two biggest things, gas being another one of them. Voters do not care about your woke bullshit, right? They don't care about your whole sentiment of, being nice to everybody and the whole pronoun thing and whatever, right? I'm not going to get fully into that right now. I don't give a shit if somebody is an adult and they're trans and they're homosexual, gay, whatever, bisexual. It literally, that means nothing to me. I don't care, right? Live your life how you want to live your life. Leave the kids alone. That's basically all I'm trying to say. But my point is that their campaigns, the Liberals and especially the NDP, will be majority based on that, whereas Conservatives are typically more based on economics, right? More based on, like, Pierre's biggest thing is, natural resources and using them to our advantage. We have a lot of them in Canada. So why are we struggling with inflation when we really shouldn't be? It makes no sense. So obviously, a lot of, right now we're kind of like on that border. We're not quite in a recession, but we're pretty close to it. Right. So I think their hopes is that it'll turn around. And then when 2025 comes, when we're supposed to have our official election, that they will obviously either stay in power or win more seats or whatever it's going to be. And that they're because right now the Conservatives are kind of on this point where they're being hyped up. Right. And that's kind of why the Conservatives are also pushing so hard for their own election. But I think majority of Canadians actually want it. They want an election, right? Let the people decide. Don't let the power-hungry tyrants decide. Yeah. That's not how democracy works. If you really want to talk about real democracy, right? Let us kick them out. Right. Right? Let us vote them out. So, but they're clearly...
there's just no way that we can do anything about it, is what it seems like.
Not right now, because they don't, in my opinion, I've been hearing some kind of little things here and there about some upset MPs that are no longer want to support Trudeau, whatever. But in my opinion, it's like, dude, if they stop supporting Trudeau and we end up going to, if they end up having a vote of no confidence in Parliament and we end up getting another election, the Liberals are going to lose, right? They're talking about 55 to 60% in left-wing media journals, right? That's crazy. That's crazy that they're the ones writing about it. So, because normally they're pretty biased, but I don't know. It could also be a thing to maybe deter people from paying attention because they're like, look, the Conservatives are going to win anyway, so there's no point in really paying attention. I don't know. But I think it's just funny. Another thing was that Matt Rife was canceled.
No.
For a job.
No, not Matt Rife. No, I love him. No.
Do you actually? You've seen?
I've watched a few of his things. Yeah. I think he's super funny.
I think he's really, really
so funny. Yeah.
What I like about him,
he has the perfect teeth.
Does he really? I never noticed.
He has fake teeth.
I don't.
Whatever the word is, veneers or whatever.
Yeah,
anyway, irrelevant to anything. He's
How do you know
so
that?
funny. Some YouTube video. It was.
So
there was just old videos of him where he was on a comedy TV show or
and
something.
They started to notice that his teeth changed.
And then huge difference,
in color, like they're whiter or
they're like whatever the word is, implants, veneers. I don't know what it is, but they're because then somehow I heard that as well. But yeah, I know he's super cool, super funny.
Yeah.
I thought like his YouTube shorts or whatever is where I first saw him. I think funny guy.
I saw him on TikTok originally.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's a funny dude. What I like about him is he kind of has like that.
Isn't it funny? I'm like screaming, "No, Matt Rife!" Like whatever about Trudeau and the government.
I mean, Trudeau's a scumbag, right? He kind of deserves. He's proved it over the last 6-7 years that he's been in office. But Matt Rife, I don't know. He seems like a good, humble dude. I saw his full interview with Jordan Peterson, and I thought it was kind of interesting.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, he did an entire interview with Jordan Peterson, and it was crazy what they're like trying to cancel him for, because it's comedy at the end of the day. Like, comedy is not meant to be taken seriously. It's not meant to be taken offensively, right? But unfortunately, the way society is going right now is everybody's so easily offended. Everybody's becoming soft. There's like no real men out there. Like the whole idea of masculinity. Oh, masculinity is toxic, right? Yeah, no, you're supposed to cry. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like if your mom dies, you're going to cry, obviously, right? But like, let's be realistic here. Like we're getting to the point where the USA can't even recruit enough men into the military. It's that bad, right? That I saw the numbers today. It was like 50,000 new men recruited back in 2018. 2023 they recruited, I think it was like 28,000. I could be mistaken, but it was definitely almost half, I'd say. That's a problem.
Well, what they have to do is just borrow from Canada. You just have to know that you're gonna have to put tampon boxes in the washroom,
right? Or the United States can just invade us and we can become part of the United States of America. Just saying, that's a possibility too, which will never happen. But I mean, never say never. But
Matt Rife has the perfect teeth. I mean, sorry, what are we talking about? What do you get canceled for?
So anyway, so he was canceled apparently for his intro joke to his newest Netflix series, and what was it that? He was at a restaurant or something and the lady had a black eye. And then part of the joke was like, oh, why would you want that to be the face of the company? Why wouldn't you? I'm quoting here, people on YouTube. Why would you want that as the face of the company? Why wouldn't you put her in the kitchen where people wouldn't see her?
I'm reading a headline. I'm reading a Variety.com headline.
Okay.
Matt Rife ignites backlash over domestic violence joke in Netflix special and mock apology that links to website for special needs helmets.
Yes.
Oh my God.
But dude, that
is brilliant comedy.
It's funny. Like, come on. People, stop being offended by jokes, literal jokes, right? Like, dude, no one was injured in the creation of this joke. I can assure you. And he confirmed that it wasn't even a fully true story. It's based on...
It's exaggerated.
It's obviously exaggerated. He literally said that in the interview. And I'm like, dude, it's a joke, right? And then he took it even one step further because the guy's like a comedic genius, right? That's the point of comedy. If you can't like... make fun of people, then what is comedy anymore, right?
It's becoming an actual offense to offend people. Yeah, it's crazy.
Gross. Yep. So to go back to this problem with the whole ACAB thing, we'll call it, something crazy happened. Let me see if I can find it here. Where did I put it?
Is this the NYPD one?
Yeah, this one was pretty messed up.
Oh,
yeah. This lady purposely ran over an NYPD officer. She reportedly wanted to teach him a lesson. This is what happens when you spend years pushing the BLM narrative in people's faces.
Hold on. That's what it's about?
Yep. Apparently. I don't know. 100%.
Is that cop not black?
I guess. But she wanted to teach him a lesson for being a police officer.
Click on it again.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I believe he was African American, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like it.
Yo.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, that's stupid. Oh, he's definitely black.
Yeah. So he was clearly being targeted for wearing a badge, essentially. So a man just randomly, an NYPD officer just randomly walking across the street gets purposely run over. But this is the problem. This is societal downfall, de-evolution. It's like, it's so sad to watch how people are literally losing their minds over this nonsense propaganda style shit that they've been shoving down people's throats at this point. And it's really, and that's kind of why we're here talking about it, because it's getting to the point of disgusting. Let me tell you another story. Do you remember how before I was talking about that kid in high school and he tells me a lot of like the random things that are being taught in these schools? It wasn't his class, but he heard it from fellow students. I believe he's in like grade 12 or something like that. He's on the verge of graduation. So apparently this one class, the teacher, for some reason, I didn't get the full story, but for some reason, The teacher decides to tell all the students, if you're black, you should be proud. If you're white, you're just a colonizer. Right. Apparently the teacher, because I asked, I'm like, is the teacher white? Because most of the time that's where the sentiment comes from.
Yeah.
It's the woke left is typically, I don't know, I'm finding that they're majority white people.
Yeah.
White women that are just having midlife crises at this point.
Yeah.
He said, no, it's indigenous. So now it's just direct racism, I guess, right? And it's like, I get the sentiment, but like, what does that even mean? First of all, imagine telling a 17-year-old kid that if you're white, you're just a colonizer. So that you're just basically a piece of shit. You were born a piece of shit because of the color of your skin. That's basically what she's telling them. And that if you're black, you should be proud.
Our teachers need to be vetted much better.
Yes, I think so too.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I told him, I'm like, dude, well, he wasn't in the class when this happened, because I said, I'm like, dude, you kids need to pipe up, right? It's clear that you're recognizing that there's an issue here with the things that your teachers are telling you. They're becoming politically biased. Instead of teaching you to think on your own, they're telling you what to think and what to believe. Trump, bad. Pierre Poilievre, bad. Maxime Bernier, very, very bad, right? Racism. Everything's about racism now. They've got no other argument whatsoever. And it's like, dude, I understand like bad shit happened in the day. I'm not oblivious to, history that happened, in the United States with slavery, back in England, et cetera. But what I do understand is that my generation, we're not the ones who came and colonized, right? And realistically, like, if you really put two and two together, colonization, is that not just like essentially building cities and kind of making things better? I mean, we have this huge country here in Canada. We're I believe the second largest country in the world. Huge landmass, huge natural resources, and we still have less than 40 million people, or did we top 40 million? Regardless, it's around there. We have 40 million people, and we're a larger country than the United States of America. So it's like, dude, there's room for everyone here.
39.1.
Right? There you go. So we're pretty close.
Yep.
But it's just like, it's such a ridiculous sentiment, right? To tell somebody that it's like, that you're such a bad person, basically based on the color of your skin, right? That's another form of racism, whether they want to admit it or not. And it's just, I don't know. It's just so stupid. It's so dumb. I don't know what's going on with all these places. Apparently we got home invasions in Mississauga. This is so close to home, dude. Like, there's these 5 people they showed here. Let me open this here. So apparently these 5 jabronis showed up to somebody's home, I believe at 2:30 in the morning, if it ever wants to load. Next page. There we go.
Family, 5 armed men come in for
this
a
is
home
crazy.
invasion, dressed completely in black, overnight at his home. They come to his front door and they're about to break in. Here's the lead criminal. He's going ahead and kicking down the door, trying to break it down. He can't do that. He's got an axe. He's going to break the glass beside the door and open the door for all his criminal friends to come in. The owner shared his story with me. He got awoken at night, 2:30 a.m., and he was scared, terrified. But what he managed to do to protect his family was scare these criminals away. Again, armed with weapons, and one's actually discharged his pistol. Now they all run away. The owners manage to intimidate them and scare them away. They run. The one criminal is going to go ahead and pop his pistol just above here. He pops it up.
Why?
And now they're going to the
I don't know. I guess he wanted to leave evidence on the ground.
Insane. Let me show you guys on the replay, zooming in. They're all scurrying now to the getaway car, and the one criminal is going to go ahead.
What are you doing,
And
bro?
pop his pistol. I don't know why he did that. The shell casing was found, but they went ahead into the escape vehicle and.
Isn't that crazy? And I think this is like this. I don't know if this is the same one that I heard about last week, but I'm not sure if this is the same story from 2 different weird angles. But I think this might be the second home invasion in the GTA area, Peel, whatever you want to call it, armed. There was another one where I remember seeing, it must have been a different one, because I remember seeing a video of another home invasion, recent, and the dude actually, for some reason, put the gun through the broken window or whatever and pulled the trigger.
Whoa.
Which you could kill somebody. That's
Absolutely
like
could.
attempted murder at that point, right? So hopefully they catch the guys. But yeah.
So this outside of the guns has been happening a lot more. So what's interesting about this one? Okay, so I follow an Instagram that posts about the security, the crimes in the area that I live in, and it's all the time, daily. I'm reading about, I'm seeing videos of the attempted from the break-in to the house to breaking into cars and stealing cars. So it started sometime within the last couple of years, heavily just stealing cars by like walking up to the door with a laptop, holding the wires up and copying the key codes, and then driving the car away just to steal cars and sell them over in whatever country, Africa usually, the continent of Africa. But now they're breaking into the houses, usually to steal the keys of the cars to get away very quickly.
Is that what's happening?
Very, very much. A lot. But this one, they didn't like it. There's no nice car outside. It seems like this house was absolutely targeted.
I think they went in to actually rob the house.
Yeah,
which seems likely. I don't know.
It's a work van sitting in the parking lot. So that why would 5 guys go into one house? One guy has a gun. That was targeted, I think.
Jeez, man. Yeah. I don't know, man. People are getting brave. Yeah. For lack of a better word. I know the podcast is called the Brave Podcast, but not that kind of brave. Dude, you're breaking laws. Yeah.
Bad brave.
You're breaking laws. So you know what that means? More people should maybe think about going to get a gun license so they can learn how to shoot for sport here in the country of Canada. But in all honesty, I think people need to be able to defend themselves under situations like this. If people are going to get this brave, then I think people need to be better prepared, right? So I don't know. It's just people have also kind of been pointing out that the laws against situations like this in our country are problematic because they're too lenient, right? So even if they catch the people who did this, what are they going to do? Spend a couple days in jail and then back on the road till they do it again, right? Do we need stiffer laws to control this? And I just want to say also, I'm hoping this whole conversation that we're having is not entirely a black pill. Let's kind of try and turn it around and maybe motivate people to think up some solutions. What do we do realistically? Can our politicians do something? Right? Can our local municipalities do something? Maybe we can get some local politicians on the show and have a conversation on how to solve this problem, because the crime here is running rampant, and it's pretty scary. Right. Yeah, so really especially when you got family at home, people who are absolutely incapable of defending themselves physically. It's not fun. It's not looking good. Right. It was never like this growing up. It was never this bad.
Right.
What changed?
It's only getting worse.
Yeah. What changed? And I feel like we need more answers. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it, apart from World War III coming.
That's it?
Right? Dude, this situation in the Middle East right now is getting completely out of hand. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that a lot of the Western leaders are to blame. I think Joe Biden's a problem. I think obviously Trudeau is a problem, because they're simply just too weak and they're not standing up and shutting the whole thing down. What I remember, and this is the reason why a lot of people will vote for Donald Trump in the upcoming election next year, and why I think he will win, provided they do not remove his name from the ballot some way or another. Yeah. They might. They're trying to, right? They're trying to get the guy in jail. They're going to make him a political prisoner, etc., etc., etc. When Donald Trump was in office, he created the Abraham Accords. I understand they were not perfect, but they did create some semblance, to my understanding, of peace, at least in the Middle East, in an area where peace has not been found for many, many years. In the sense, obviously there were still wars, but in the sense that there was no new war significantly where there was U.S. involvement, which is, I think, more of what we need, right? I think the largest problem is that we have the U.S. kind of picking and choosing sides, funding certain sides. We have Ukraine, now we have Israel, and just giving them weapons, giving them money, and telling them to have at it at this point. And I think that's part of the problem. The other part of the problem is that these leaders are too weak. I mean, we have Joe Biden, who's just basically ready for bedtime all day long. Like, the dude's old, right?
Yeah.
He's his mind is falling apart. It's obvious. The dude is walking around at stage giving handshakes to people who do not exist. That is a clear sign of dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever it is. And a lot of people are speculating that he may end up dropping out of the next race before the next election, and they may end up putting Michelle Obama on the ballot. That's just what I'm hearing now, and I think it's a possibility. I don't really know, but the whole point is, it's like World War III. Like, we have Iran getting involved now. Now there's things going on again in Lebanon, Yemen, obviously Israel, Palestine. Like, what's next? Who else is going to get involved in this? Russia, China, and then suddenly we're going to be involved. Korea, right? So I just kind of, for me, I just want it all to stop. I'm very anti-war. I want this whole thing at this point between Israel and Palestine. I want both sides to kind of essentially fuck off, right? Because you're both part of the fucking problem, right? I'm just going to say it straight up. Whether you're, pro-Palestine or you're pro-Israel, you're both constantly butting heads, and you need to find some sort of solution. I don't know enough about it to know what that solution is. I may just look like an idiot at this point, even saying anything, but I'm just going to say it. That's my opinion. I don't know what else to say.
Can't that be said about every single war?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that's kind of like my same sentiment with Ukraine and Russia. It's the same thing. Like,
is that even still happening?
Of course it's happening.
My God, I haven't heard a thing about it. I haven't heard a thing about it in, I don't know, a year? I don't know. So many people have died, right? Probably almost 1 million people have died at this point, right? So it's like, you're both part of the problem, and just make it stop, right? Diplomacy is the best way to go about it. Sit at a table and have a conversation. And the West obviously wasn't having that, no matter how much they like to claim about, civil democracy and this and that. And it's like, whatever, man, fuck off. You're all just idiots. You're all just money hungry, power hungry people, right? And it's just, I know there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of just where we're at right now. But I do know here Canada is falling apart, and hopefully we can find some solutions and put the pieces back in place at this point. That's pretty much it for this segment, and I guess we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.